I want you to think about the two people you trusted most in this world: your wife, the woman you built your life with, the woman you came home to every single night, and your boss, the man who mentored you, who promoted you, who looked you in the eye at your wedding and said, "You deserve every happiness." Now imagine finding out those two people had been in a hotel room together every Tuesday afternoon for 8 months while you were at your desk, working late, building a future for a life that was already gone. My name is James, and the day I found out about my wife and my boss was the worst day of my life, but what I built in the 18 months that followed was the best revenge anyone has ever witnessed in this industry. I need you to understand who I was before all of this. I was 34 years old, Senior Vice President of Business Development at Pinnacle Tech Solutions. I had been with the company for 9 years. I had started as a junior analyst, fresh out of college, and I had outworked every single person in that building for 9 straight years. My boss was a man named Victor Hale, CEO, founder, industry legend, the kind of man whose name opened every door in the city. Victor had mentored me personally. He had promoted me 4 times. He had stood at my wedding 5 years ago and given a toast that made my mother cry. I would have walked through fire for Victor. I would have walked through fire for my wife too. Her name was Lauren. We met in college, married at 29. 5 years of what I believed was a solid, happy marriage. Lauren was a marketing consultant, smart, driven, beautiful. I was proud of her. I was proud of us. I thought we were the kind of couple other people looked at and felt hopeful about. I was living in a story someone else had already rewritten. The discovery happened on a Wednesday evening in March. I had left my laptop at the office and gone back to retrieve it around 8 o'clock. The building was mostly empty. Victor's office light was on. I almost knocked, almost walked in, the way I had 1,000 times before. Something stopped me, a sound. I stood in the corridor outside Victor's office door and heard my wife's laugh, Lauren's specific laugh, the one I knew better than any sound in the world, coming from behind my boss's closed office door. At 8 o'clock on a Wednesday evening, I stood in that corridor for what felt like a very long time. Then I walked back to my desk, got my laptop, walked to the elevator, drove home, and sat in my car, in our driveway, for 2 hours. When I finally went inside, Lauren was already there. She had clearly left the office before I got home. She kissed my cheek. She said, "Long day." I said, "Yes." And I went upstairs, and I made a decision. I was not going to confront anyone. Not yet. First, I was going to know everything. I spent the next 2 weeks paying very close attention to things I had never noticed before. Lauren's phone, face down, constantly. Texts she stepped out of rooms to answer. Tuesday afternoons, she claimed, were client meetings. That appeared nowhere on her shared calendar. Victor suddenly less available on Tuesday afternoons, his assistant covering for him in ways that now felt rehearsed and familiar. I hired a private investigator on a Thursday morning. His name was Derek Mills, former police detective, completely professional, completely discreet. Derek came back to me 8 days later with photographs and timestamps and a hotel name and a room number that appeared on their receipts every single Tuesday. 8 months of Tuesdays. I looked at those photographs for a long time. Then I thanked Derek, paid him in full, and went home and made dinner and sat across the table from my wife and told her about my day. Because I was not ready yet, I had one more thing to do before I was ready. I want to be honest about what happened. In my mind, during those weeks, I was devastated, completely and totally devastated, in the way that only happens when 2 betrayals arrive together. But underneath the devastation, something else was building, something cold and focused and absolutely clear. I had spent 9 years building Victor's company, 9 years of relationships, contacts, clients, strategy. I knew every major account. I knew every client personally. I knew the company's weaknesses better than Victor did. because I was the one actually running the business, while Victor attended galas and gave speeches and apparently spent his Tuesday afternoons with my wife. I spent 3 weeks quietly and carefully laying the foundation for something new. I contacted my college friend, Marcus Webb, a technology entrepreneur who had capital to invest and had asked me twice in the past 3 years if I would ever consider going out on my own. I told Marcus I was ready. I consulted with a business attorney about non-compete clauses and client solicitation rules. I documented every piece of work I had personally originated in 9 years at Pinnacle, and then I was ready. I called Lauren and Victor separately. I asked them both to meet me at our house on a Friday evening. I told each of them separately that I needed to discuss something important. Neither of them knew the other was coming. Lauren arrived first. Victor arrived 12 minutes later. I watched his face when he walked into the living room and saw Lauren sitting there. The calculation that crossed it in that single second told me everything about who this man really was. I placed Derek's photographs on the coffee table between all 3 of us. Nobody spoke for a long time. Then Victor said, and I will never forget this. Victor said, "James, let me explain the context here." I held up one hand. "I am not here for explanations," I said. "I am here to tell you both 2 things. First, Lauren, I want a divorce. My attorney will be in contact Monday morning. Second, Victor, I resign, effective today. My formal resignation letter is already in your inbox." Victor's expression shifted. "James, you cannot just the Henderson account alone. You have a non-compete. My attorney reviewed it yesterday," I said. "It is not as airtight as you think it is." I stood up. "I spent 9 years building your company, Victor. 9 years while you were busy stealing from me in ways that had nothing to do with business." I picked up my car keys. "I'm going to build something now, and I am going to build it bigger than everything you have in this city." I looked at them both one final time. "Enjoy your Tuesdays," and I walked out of my own house. Webb Carter Solutions opened its doors 6 weeks after I walked out of my house. Marcus Webb put in the capital. I put in everything else. Every contact, every relationship, every strategy I had spent 9 years developing. And here is the thing about 9 years of building genuine relationships with clients. Those relationships belong to the person, not the company. Within the first month, 3 of Pinnacle's top accounts had reached out to me directly. By month 3, 7 of their 12 major clients had moved their business to Webb Carter. Victor tried to enforce the non-compete. My attorney dismantled it. In a preliminary hearing, in approximately 40 minutes, Victor tried to damage my reputation in the industry. The clients who had worked with me for years knew exactly who had done the actual work at Pinnacle. His attempts at reputation damage landed on completely deaf ears. By month 6, Webb Carter Solutions had revenue exceeding what Pinnacle had reported in its best quarter ever. By month 9, we had hired 14 of Pinnacle's former employees, people who had watched the company collapse from the inside and wanted to work for someone they actually respected. And then month 12 arrived. I received a call from a number I did not recognize. On a Monday morning, a woman's voice, professional, careful. She introduced herself as the representative of Pinnacle Tech Solutions Board of Directors. Pinnacle was in serious financial trouble. Victor had lost the major accounts. Several key employees had left. 2 investors had pulled out, following what she described as reputational concerns surrounding the CEO. The board was looking for acquisition options. They were calling me because Webb Carter Solutions was the most logical buyer. I sat at my desk in the office I had built from nothing in 12 months and let that sentence sit in the air for a moment. "What is the asking price?" I said. She told me it was less than half of what Pinnacle had been valued at 18 months ago. I told her I would have My team review the financials and be in touch within the week. Then I hung up the phone and I allowed myself exactly 30 seconds of sitting quietly with what had just happened. 30 seconds. Then I called Marcus. Marcus, I said, how do you feel about acquiring Pinnacle Tech Solutions? The silence on his end lasted about 5 seconds. Then he started laughing. We closed the acquisition. 11 weeks later, I walked into the building. That had been Victor Hale's professional identity for 22 years. As its new owner, Victor had cleaned out his office. The week before closing, I heard through the industry that he had moved to another city. I did not look into it further. I had an empire to run. Web Carter Solutions, now operating as Carter Group, has 23 clients and 61 employees. Annual revenue this year will exceed $11 million. My divorce from Lauren was finalized 8 months ago. She got what the law entitled her to. I did not fight it. I did not have the energy or the interest. Some things you just close the door on cleanly. I am 36 years old. I have built something from the wreckage of the worst week of my professional and personal life that I am genuinely proud of. Not because of the money, not because of the revenge, but because I learned something in those 18 months that I could not have learned any other way. I learned what I was capable of when I was building for myself instead of for someone else. 9 years I gave to Victor Hale. 9 years of my best work for someone else's name on the door. It took 2 people destroying my trust to show me what I should have been building all along. My own name, my own door, my own empire. Victor gave me that without meaning to, and for that, strange as it sounds, I am almost grateful. If someone has betrayed you, do not waste your pain. Use it, channel it into something they never imagined you were capable of. Build so quietly and so steadily that by the time they look up, you are already somewhere they cannot reach. The best revenge is never what you take from them. It is what you build without them. Thank you for being here with Drama Hub Stories today. Subscribe for a powerful news story every single day and tell me in the comments, what would you have done? In James's position, would you have confronted them immediately or planned first? Comment below. See you in the next story.